Setting up for meeting MVP Love. All right, we are live on YouTube. Welcome to the Theater. Tonight we are doing a script reading of the Billy Wilder masterpiece, Sunset Boulevard. Did the cast want to introduce themselves?
James Gavin as Joe Gillis.
Excellent.
Oh, I'm Tammy as Norma.
Julian as Max.
Molly as Betty Schaefer.
Ian as Artie Green.
And
Richard Atcher as Sheldrake.
And we have Julia
various
Wright,
players.
funny. We have Tim playing so many parts in the morgue at Paramount Studios at Norma Desmond's home. We couldn't do it without Timothy Lahr, without Jeremy Weinreich, without Rudy Van Kampen, and without Eric Waldman. Thank you all so much for being here.
Of course.
Let's begin. Okay,
Laura's got the music playing.
I love it.
Dedicated.
All right. We start with the sidewalk for the credits and music as the camera moves down the street. Then they finish at a pan up the street to see the corner turning into Norma Desmond's home. The narration begins as the credits finish, and the camera pans upward with sirens screaming.
Yes, this is Sunset Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. That's the homicide squad, complete with detectives and newspapermen. A murder has been reported from one of those great big houses in the 10,000 block. You'll read about it in the late editions, I'm sure. You'll get it over your radios and see it on television because an old-time star is involved, one of the biggest. But before you hear it all distorted and blown out of proportions, before those Hollywood columnists get their hands on it, maybe you'd like to hear the facts, the whole truth. If so, you've come to the right party. You see the body of a young man was found floating in the pool of her mansion with 2 shots in his back and 1 in his stomach. Nobody important, really, just a movie writer with a couple of B pictures to his credit. Poor dope. He always wanted a pool. Well, in the end, he got himself a pool. Only the price turned out to be a little high. Let's go back about 6 months and find the day when it all started. I was living in an apartment house above Franklin and Ivar. Things were tough at the moment. I hadn't worked in a studio for a long time. So I sat there grinding out original stories, 2 a week. Only I seemed to have lost my touch. Maybe they weren't original enough. Maybe they were too original. All I know is they didn't sell.
We segue to the morgue. The morgue itself, an attendant wheels a dead Gillis into a huge bar in a windowless room. Along the walls are 20 or so sheet-covered corpses, lying in an orderly row of wheeled slabs with large numbers painted on the walls above each slab. The attendant pushes Gillis into a vacant space. Beyond him, the feet of the other corpses stretch from under their sheets. Men's feet, women's feet, children's, 2 or 3 Negroes. Then a linen tag dangling from each left big toe. The attendant exits and switches off the light. For a moment, the room is semi-dark. Then, as the music takes on a more astral phase, a curious glow emanates from the sheeted corpses. The long row of tags sways in the breeze from the ventilator system.
Don't be scared. There's a lot of us here. It's all right.
I'm not scared.
How did you happen to die?
What difference does it make?
Died of a heart attack myself. Was going to retire right here in LA. Had a nice pension from Seattle City Bank and a nice little bungalow all picked out. The agent was just about to show me the avocado tree when it happened.
That's a shame.
Only lucky thing is I hadn't signed the lease.
Me, I drowned.
So did I. I drowned right off the pier at Ocean Park. I bet Pinky Evans I could stay underwater longer than 2 minutes. And I did, too.
I died before the morning paper came.
I think Rudy's the third guy in the morgue.
Oh, okay. So I'm the Negro. Okay.
I put guy in the morgue 3.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Doggone it. I was hauling some oranges down from San Bernardino, and I just tuned in the baseball scores when she hit me. Crash. Some dame in a Chevy coupe that was all smashed and stove in and turned turtle. You'd have thought I'd be all right in a 2-ton truck. Ha ha. She crawled out and lit herself a cigarette, and me lying dead at the crossroads in the middle of all them oranges.
I wish my folks would come and get me.
They will. Don't worry.
Do you think they'll be sore at me?
No, they won't. They'll come for you and they'll have flowers, and they'll take you someplace where it's sunny and green and tuck you away to lovely dreams.
Certainly ought to be more lifeguards with all the taxes we pay. Where did you drown? The ocean?
No. Swimming pool.
A husky fellow like you?
Well, I had a few extra holes in me, 2 in the chest and 1 in the stomach.
You were murdered?
Yes, I was murdered.
Number 17 was murdered too. Interesting man. He was a bookie, he told me. Working for an Eastern syndicate. Only he started talking little bets on his own, and they sent him out a couple of men from Chicago. I wonder if the police will ever put that one together.
They'll never put mine together, right? It'll be a good joke, lying here like a jigsaw puzzle all scrambled up with the cops and the Hollywood columnists trying to fit in the wrong pieces.
Hollywood? You in the movies?
Yeah. Came out in 45 to catch me in a swimming pool. And by gosh, in the end, I got myself one. Only there turned out to be blood in it.
Were you an actor?
No. A writer. Never had my name on anything big, though. Just a couple of B pictures. One stinker, and the other one, well, that wasn't so hot either. I was having a tough time making a living.
It's your dying I was asking about.
Well, I drove down Sunset Boulevard one afternoon. That was my mistake. Maybe I'd better start off with the morning of that day. I've been out of work for 6 months.
Slow dissolve to Hollywood, seen from the hilltop at Ivar and Franklin Streets.
I had a couple of stories out there that wouldn't sell in an apartment right above Hollywood and Ivar that wasn't paid for. Come to think of it, a lot of things weren't paid for. My car, my laundry, Dave, the delicatessen man. I was trying to pound out a Western this time, but it was like pulling teeth. I was in a slump, all right.
Joe Gillis's apartment. It is a one-room affair with an unmade Murphy bed pulled out of the wall. There are a couple of worn-out plush chairs and a Spanish-style wrought iron standing lamp. Also a small desk littered with books and letters, and a chest of drawers with a portable phonograph and some records on top. On the walls are a couple of reproductions of characterless paintings, with laundry bills and snapshots stuck in the frames. Through an archway can be seen a tiny kitchenette, complete with unwashed coffee pot and cup, empty tin cans, orange peels, etc. The effect is dingy and cheerless, just another furnished apartment. The buzzer sounds.
Yeah,
Joseph C. Gillis?
that's right.
Hey, we've come for the car.
What car?
1946 Plymouth convertible. California license 97 N567. Where are the keys?
Why should I give you the keys?
Because the company's played ball with you long enough. Because you're 3 payments behind and because we've got a court order. Come on, the keys. Or do you want us to jack it up and haul it away?
Relax, fans. The car isn't here.
Is that so?
I lent it to a friend of mine. He took it up to Palm Springs.
Had to get away for his health, I suppose.
You don't believe me? Look in the garage.
Sure, we believe you, only now we want you to believe us. That car better be back here by noon tomorrow or there's going to be fireworks.
You say the cutest things. Well, I needed about $290 and I needed it real quick or I'd lose my car. It wasn't in Palm Springs and it wasn't in the garage. I was way ahead of the finance company.
Dissolved to the exterior of Rudy's shoeshine parlor.
I knew they'd be coming around and I wasn't taking any chances, so I kept it a couple of blocks away in a parking lot behind Rudy's shoeshine parlor. Rudy never asked any questions. He'd just look at your heels and know the score.
From behind is Gillis's car, a yellow 1946 Plymouth convertible with the top down. Gillis enters the shot in the alley next to Sydney's men's shop on Bronson Avenue.
I had an original story kicking around Paramount. My agent told me it was dead as a doornail, but I knew a big shot over there had always liked me, and the time had come to take a little advantage of it. His name was Sheldrake. He was a smart producer with a set of ulcers to prove it.
Dissolved to Sheldrake's office. It is in the style of a Paramount executive's office, mahogany, leather, a little chintz. On the walls are some large framed photographs of Paramount stars with dedications to Mr. Sheldrake. Also a couple of framed critics awards, certificates, and an Oscar on the bookshelf. A shooting schedule chart is thumbtacked into a large bulletin board. There are piles of scripts and a few pipes, and somewhere in the background, some set models. Enter Sheldrake. He is 45. Behind his worried face, there hides a coated tongue. He is engaged in changing the stain-filtered cigarette in his Zeus holder.
All right, Gillis, you've got 5 minutes. What's your story about?
It's about a ball player, a rookie shortstop that's batting .347. The poor kid was once mixed up in a holdup, but he's trying to go straight, except there's a bunch of gamblers who won't let him.
So they tell the kid to throw the World Series or else, huh?
More or less, only for the end I've got a gimmick that's real good.
Enter a secretary carrying a glass of milk. She opens a drawer and takes out a bottle of pills for Sheldrake.
You got a title?
Bases loaded. There's a 40-page outline.
Get the reader's department and see what they have on bases loaded.
The secretary exits.
They're pretty hot about it over at 20th, but I think Zanuck's all wet. Can you see Ty Power as a shortstop? You've got the best man for it right here on this lot, Alan Ladd. Good change of pace for Alan Ladd. There's another thing. It's pretty simple to shoot. A lot of outdoor stuff. Bet you could make the whole thing for under $1 million. And there's a great little part for Bill Demarest, one of the trainers, an old-time player who got beaned and goes out of his head sometimes.
Enter Betty Schaefer, a clean-cut, nice-looking girl of 21, with a bright, alert manner, dressed in a tweed skirt, Brooks sweater, and pearls, and carrying a folder of papers. She puts them on Sheldrake's desk, not noticing Gillis, who stands near the door.
Hello, Mr. Sheldrake. On that bases loaded, I covered it with a 2-page synopsis, but I wouldn't bother.
What's wrong with it?
It's from Hunger.
Nothing for Ladd?
Just a rehash of something that wasn't very good to begin with.
I'm sure you'll be glad to meet Mr. Gillis. He wrote it. This is Miss Kramer.
Schaefer, Betty Schaefer. And right now, I wish I could crawl into a hole and pull it in after me.
If I could be of any help.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gillis, but I just don't think it's any good. I found it flat and banal.
Exactly what kind of material do you recommend? James Joyce, Dostoevsky?
Name dropper.
I just think pictures should say a little something.
Oh, you're one of the message kids. Just a story won't do. You'd have turned down Gone with the Wind.
No, that was me. I said, who wants to see a Civil War picture?
Perhaps the reason I hated Bases Loaded is that I knew your name. I'd always heard you had talent.
That was last year. This year, I'm trying to earn a living.
So you take plot 27A, make it glossy, make it slick.
Careful, those are dirty words. You sound like a bunch of New York critics. Thank you, Miss Schaefer.
Goodbye, Mr. Gillis.
Goodbye. Next time, I'll write the naked and the dead.
Well, seems like Xanax got himself a baseball picture.
Mr. Sheldrake, I don't want you to think I thought this was going to win any Academy Award.
Of course, we're always looking for a Betty Hutton. Do you see it as a Betty Hutton?
Frankly, no.
Now, wait a minute. If we made it a girls' softball team, put in a few numbers, might make a cute musical. It happened in the bullpen, the story of a woman.
You trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs. I'm up that creek and I need a job.
Sure, Gillis. If something should come along.
Along is no good. I need it now.
Haven't got a thing.
Any kind of assignment, additional dialogue.
There's nothing, Gillis. Not even if you were a relative.
Look, Mr. Sheldrake, could you let me have $300 yourself as a personal loan?
Could I? Gillis, last year somebody talked me into buying a ranch in the valley. So I borrowed money from the bank so I could pay for the ranch. This year, I had to mortgage the ranch so I could keep up my life insurance, so I could borrow on the insurance so I could pay my income tax. Now, if Dewey had been elected...
Goodbye, Mr. Sheldrake.
Dissolved to Schwab's drugstore.
After that, I drove down to headquarters. That's the way a lot of us think about Schwab's drugstore. Actors and stock girls and writers. Kind of a combination office, cafe clatch, and waiting room. Waiting for the gravy train. I got myself 10 nickels and started sending out a general SOS. Couldn't get hold of my agent, naturally, so then I called a pal of mine, name of Artie Green. An awful nice guy, an assistant director. He could let me have 20, but 20 wouldn't do. Then I talked to a couple of yes men at 20th. To me, they said no. Finally, I located that agent of mine. He was hard at work in Bel Air, making with the golf sticks.
Gillis hangs up with a curse and opens the door of the booth, emerges, wiping the sweat from his forehead. He walks towards the exit and is stopped by the voice of Skulski.
Oh, Gillis.
Hello, Mr. Skulski.
Got anything for the column?
Sure. Just sold an original for $100 grand. A Life of the Warner Brothers, starring the Ritz brothers, playing opposite the Andrews sisters.
But don't get me wrong. I love Hollywood.
Dissolved to the Bel Air Golf Links.
So you need $300. Of course I could give you $300. Only I'm not going to.
No?
Gillis, get this through your head. I'm not just your agent. It's not the 10%. I'm your friend.
How's that about your being my friend?
Don't you know the finest things in the world have been written on an empty stomach? Once a talent like yours gets into that Mocambo Romanoff rut, you're through.
Forget Romanoffs. It's the car I'm talking about. If I lose my car, it's like having my legs cut off.
Greatest thing that could happen to you. Now you'll have to sit behind that typewriter. Now you'll have to write.
What do you think I've been doing? I need $300.
Maybe what you need is another agent.
Dissolved to Gillis in his open car.
So I started back towards Hollywood. All the way down Sunset Boulevard, I was composing a letter. To WWAG, managing editor, the Dayton Evening Post, Dayton, Ohio. Dear Mr. Halitosis, I am in a terrible predicament. I have just been offered a writer, producer, director contract at $7,000 a week for 7 years straight. Shall I do it? Shall I subject myself to the corruption and sham of this tinsel town with its terrible people, or is my place back home where there are no people, just plain folks? In other words, how's about that $35 a week job behind the rewrite desk?
Gillis stops his car at a red light by the main entrance to Bel Air, and suddenly his eyes fall on another car. It is a dark green Dodge business coupe, also waiting for the light to change, but headed in the opposite direction. In it are two finance men. They spot Gillis in his car and exchange looks. From across the intersection, Gillis recognizes them and pulls down the leather sunshade to screen his face. As the light changes, Gillis gives his car the gun and shoots away. The men narrowly avoid hitting another car as they make a U-turn into oncoming traffic and start after him. The chase, very short and very sharp, told in flashes. The men lose Gillis around a bend and catch sight of him, and then, while they are trapped behind a slow-moving truck, he disappears again. Gillis is driving as fast as he dares, keeping an eye out for pursuit in his rearview mirror. Suddenly, his right front tire blows out. Gillis clutches desperately at the steering wheel and manages to turn to the careening car into a driveway. It is overgrown with weeds and screened from the street by bushes and trees. Gillis stops his car about 30 feet from the street and looks back. The other cars shoot past the driveway as they still look for Gillis.
I had landed myself in the driveway of some big mansion that looked run down and deserted. At the end of the drive was a lovely sight indeed. A great big empty garage, just standing there going to waste. If ever there was a place to stash away a limping car with a hot license number. There was another occupant in that garage, an enormous foreign-built automobile, the kind that burns up 10 gallons to a mile. It had a 1932 license. I figured that's when the owners must have moved out. I also figured it was a cinch I couldn't go back to my apartment, so the thing to do was take a bus for Artie Green's and stay there till I promoted that $300.
We have arrived at Norma Desmond's house.
Some people say that when you first see the spot where you're going to die, it rings a bell inside you. I didn't hear any bell. It was just big and still, one of those white elephants crazy movie people built in the crazy 20s.
Oh, Tammy's muted.
You there.
You there? Why have you kept me waiting for so long?
Gillis stands flabbergasted. A new noise attracts his attention. The creak of a heavy metal and glass doorway being opened. He turns and sees the entrance to the house. Max von Meyerling stands there. He is 60 and all in black, except for immaculate white cotton gloves, shirt, high stiff collar, and a white bow tie. His coat is shiny black alpus. His trousers ledger striped. He is semi-paralyzed. The left side of his mouth is pulled down, and he leans on a rubber furled stick.
In here.
I just put my car in the garage. I had a blowout. I thought...
Go on in.
Look, maybe I'd better take my car.
Wipe your feet. You're not dressed properly.
Dressed for what?
Max? Have them come up, Max.
Up the stairs.
Suppose you listen just for a minute.
Madame is waiting.
For me? Okay.
In Norma Desmond's entrance hall, it is a grandiose and grim place. The whole place is one of those abortions of silent picture days, with bowling alleys in the cellar and a built-in pipe organ and beams imported from Italy with California termites at work on them. Porters are drawn before all the windows, and only thin slits of sunlight find their way in the fight to fight the few electric bulbs which are always burning. Gillis starts up the curve of the black marble staircase. It is a wrought iron rail and a worn velvet robe along the wall.
If you need help with the coffin, call me.
This way.
Norma Desmond stands down the corridor next to a doorway for which emerges a flickering light. She is a small woman. There is a curious style, a great sense of high voltage about her. She is dressed in black house pajamas and black high-heeled pumps. Around her throat, there is a leopard-patterned scarf, and wound around her head, a turban of the same material. Her skin is very pale, and she is wearing dark glasses.
In here. I put him on my massage table in front of the fire. He always liked fires and poking at them with a stick.
Norma Desmond's bedroom is huge, gloomy, hung in white brocade, which has become dirty over the years and even slightly torn in a few places. There's a great unmade gilded bed in the shape of a swan, from which the gold had begun to peel. There is a disorder of clothes and negligees and faded photographs of old-time stars around. In an imitation Baroque fireplace, some logs are burning. On the massage table before it lies a small form shrouded under a Spanish shawl. At each end, a Baroque pedestal stands a three-branched candelabra, and the candles are lighted.
I've made up my mind. We'll bury him in the garden. Any city laws against that?
I wouldn't know.
I don't care anyway. I want the coffin to be white. I want it specially lined with satin, white or deep pink. Maybe red, bright, flaming red, gay. Let's make it gay. How much will it be? I warn you, don't give me a fancy price just because I'm rich.
Lady, you've got the wrong man. I had some trouble with my car, flat tire. I pulled into your garage till I could get a spare. I thought this was an empty house.
It is not. Get out.
I'm sorry, and I'm sorry you lost your friend, and I don't think red is the right color.
Get out!
Sure. Wait a minute. Haven't I seen you?
Or shall I call my servant?
I know your face. You're Norma Desmond. You used to be in pictures. You used to be big.
I am big. It's the pictures that got small.
I knew there was something wrong with them.
They're dead. They're finished. There was a time when this business had the eyes of the whole wide world, but that wasn't good enough. Oh no, they wanted the ears of the world too, so they opened their big mouths and out came talk, talk, talk.
That's where the popcorn business comes in. You buy yourself a bag and plug up your ears.
Look at them in the front offices, the masterminds. They took the idols and smashed them. The Fairbankses and the Chaplins and the Gilberts and the Valentinos. And who have they got now? Some nobodies. A lot of pale little frogs croaking pish-posh.
Don't get slow at me. I'm not an executive. I'm just a writer.
You are. Writing words. Words. You've made a rope of words and strangled this business. But there is a microphone right there to catch the last gurgles and Technicolor to photograph the red swollen tongues.
Shh, you'll wake up that monkey.
Get out!
Next time I'll bring my autograph album along, or maybe a hunk of cement and ask for your footprints.
Just a minute, you.
Yeah?
You're a writer, you said.
Why?
Are you or aren't you?
I think that's what it says on my driver's license.
And you have written pictures, haven't you?
Sure have. The last one I wrote was about cattle rustlers. Before they were through with it, the whole thing played on a torpedo boat.
I want to ask you something. Come in here.
She leads him into her huge living room. It is dark and damp and filled with black oak and red velvet furniture, which looks like crappy props from the Mark of Zorro. Along the main wall, a gigantic fireplace has been freezing for years. On the gold piano is a galaxy of photographs of Norma Desmond in her various roles. On one wall is a painting, a California gold rush scene, Carthay Circle School. One corner is filled with a large pipe organ. As Norma and Gillis enter, there is a grisly moaning sound. Gillis looks around.
The wind gets in that blasted pipe organ. I ought to have it taken out.
Or teach it a better tune.
How long is a movie script these days? I mean, how many pages?
Depends on what it is. A Donald Duck or Joan of Arc.
This is to be a very important picture. I have written it myself. Took me years.
Looks like enough for 6 important pictures.
It's the story of Salome. I think I'll have DeMille direct it.
Uh-huh.
We've made a lot of pictures together.
And you'll play Salome.
Who else?
Only asking. I didn't know you were planning a comeback.
I hate that word. It is a return to the millions of people who have never forgiven me for deserting the screen.
Fair enough.
Salome, the woman who was all woman. You know the story. She was a princess and she was a slave, crawling before John the Baptist, dancing the dance of the 7 veils. And then she has his head chopped off. He's hers at last. His head is on a golden tray. She kisses his cold, dead lips.
They'll love it in Pomona.
They will love it every place. Read it. Read the scene just before she has him killed.
Right now? Never let another writer read your stuff. He may steal it.
I'm not afraid. Read it. Max! Max! Sit down. Is there enough light?
I've got 20/20 vision.
Bring something to drink.
Yes, madame.
I said sit down.
Gillis looks at her and starts slowly reading.
She had a voice like a ringmaster's whip. Somehow I found myself sitting there reading that mad scrawl of hers. Some letters big and arrogant, others as small as fly specks. I wondered what a handwriting expert would make of it. Max wheeled in some champagne and some caviar. Later, I found out that Max was the only other person in that grim Sunset Castle of hers. I found out a few other things about him. As for her, she sat there curled up like a watch spring. I could sense her eyes on me behind those dark glasses. She kept smoking some Turkish brand of cigarettes. There was a contraption she used to hold them so her yellow fingers wouldn't get more yellow. It sure was a cozy setup, Max and she and that dead monkey upstairs and the wind wheezing through that organ once in a while. Later on, just for comedy relief, the real guy arrived with a baby coffin. It was all done with great dignity. He must have been a very important chimp. The great-great-grandson of King Kong, maybe. Got to be 11 o'clock. I was feeling a little sick in my stomach. It wasn't just that sweet champagne. It was wading through that guck of hers, that mad hodgepodge of melodramatic plots. However, by then, I'd started concocting a little plot of my own.
The camera slowly draws back to include Norma Desmond sitting in the dusk, just as she was before. Gillis puts down a batch of the script. There is a small pause.
Well?
This is fascinating.
Of course it is.
Maybe it's a little long and maybe there are some repetitions, but you're not a professional writer.
I wrote that with my heart.
Sure you did. That's what makes it great. What it needs is a little more dialogue.
What for? I can say anything I want with my eyes.
It certainly needs a pair of shears and a blue pencil.
I will not have it butchered.
Of course not, but it ought to be organized. Just an editing job. You can find somebody.
Who? You will do it.
Me? I'm busy. Just finished one script. I'm due on another assignment.
I don't care.
You know, I'm pretty expensive. I get $500 a week.
I wouldn't worry about money. I'll make it worth your while.
Maybe I'd better finish reading it.
You'll read it tonight.
It's getting kind of late.
Are you married, Mr.?
The name is Gillis. I'm single.
Where do you live?
In Hollywood. The Altonito apartments.
There's something wrong with your car, you said.
There sure is.
Max! You're staying here.
I am.
Yes, you are. There's a room up over the garage. Max!
She sure could say a lot of things with those pale eyes of hers. They'd been her trademark. They'd made her the #1 vamp of another era. I remember a rather florid description in an old fan magazine which said, her eyes are like 2 moonlit water holes where strange animals come to drink.
Change to a small staircase leading up to the room over the garage.
I took the rest of the script and Max led me to the room over to the garage. I thought I'd wangled myself a pretty good deal. I'd do a little work, my car would be safe down below until I got some money out of her.
I made your bed this afternoon.
Thanks. How did you know I was going to stay this afternoon?
Max doesn't answer. He walks across to the bed, screws a bulb in the open socket above it. The light goes on, revealing a gabled bedroom. There are dirty windows on 2 sides, a dingy wallpaper on the cracked plaster walls. For furniture, there is a neatly made bed, a table, and a few chairs, which might have been discarded from the main house.
This room has not been used for a long time.
It'll never make house beautiful. I guess it's okay for one night.
There is the bathroom. I put in soap and a toothbrush.
Thanks. Say, she's quite a character, that Norma Desmond.
She was the greatest. You wouldn't know. You are too young. In 1 week, she got 17,000 fan letters. Men would bribe her manicurist to get clippings from her fingernails. There was a Maharaja who came all the way from Habirda to get some of her stockings. Later, he strangled himself with them.
I sure turned into an interesting driveway.
You did, sir.
I figured he was a little crazy. Maybe he'd had a stroke. Part of his brain wasn't hitting on all cylinders. Come to think of it, the whole place was like that. Half paralyzed, crumbling apart in slow motion. There was a tennis court, or rather the ghost of a tennis court with faded markings and a sagging net. And of course, she had a pool. Who didn't then? Mabel Normand and John Gilbert must have swum in it 10,000 midnights ago, and Vilma Banky and Rod LaRock. It was empty now, except for some rubbish and something stirring down there.
In the swimming pool at the bottom of the basin, a great rat is eating a decaying orange. From the inlet pipe crawl 2 other rats who join battle with the first rat over the orange. Gillis from his window.
I thought I caught the flicker of a light. There was something else going on below. The last rites for that hairy old chimp. She was always playing some sort of part. This time she was Lady Macbeth in a tragic Scottish moor, or a bereaved empress, queen, mourning her dead Prince Imperial. It was all very queer, but queerer things were yet to come.
Dissolved to a long shot of the Desmond house the next morning. From the room over the garage. Muted daylight seeps through the blinds. Gillis lies on his bed under a shabby quilt. The manuscript is beside him. Some of the pages are scattered on the floor. He is just opening his eyes.
There was organ music seeping into my dreams. It was like waking up in a belfry with mass going on below and Johann Sebastian Bach begging God to forgive us all our sins. Oh, sure, I was in that empty room over her garage. Only it wasn't empty anymore. I'd had a visitor. Somebody had brought in all my belongings, my books, my typewriter, my clothes. What was going on?
Dissolved to a pair of hands in white gloves playing the organ. They belong to Max von Mehrling. He is sitting erect, his bull neck taut as a wrestler's, as he fights out somber chord after somber chord. He sits in a shaft of gray light coming from an open French window. Through the far archway, Gillis storms into the big room.
Hey, you, Max, whatever your name is, what are my things doing here? I'm talking to you. My clothes and things are up in the room.
Naturally, I brought them myself.
Is that so?
Why are you so upset? Is there anything missing?
Who said you could? Who asked you to?
I did.
Gillis looks around, and in the window stands Norma Desmond. She is dressed in Persian-style lounging pajamas. A Persian-patterned turban hides her hair, and as always, those dark glasses.
I don't know why you should be so upset. Stop that playing, Max. It seemed like a good idea, if we are to work together.
Look, I'm supposed to fix up your script. There's nothing in the deal about my staying here.
You'll like it here.
Thanks for the invitation, but I have my own apartment.
You can't work in an apartment where you owe 3 months' rent.
I'll take care of that.
It's all taken care of. It's all paid for.
I'm used to paying my own bills.
You proud boy. Why didn't you tell me you were having difficulties?
Okay. We'll deduct it from my salary.
Now. Don't let's be small about such matters. We won't keep books. Go on, unpack Mr. Gillis's things.
Unpack nothing. I didn't say I was staying.
Suppose you make up your mind. Do you want this job or don't you?
Yes, I wanted the job. I wanted the dough, and I wanted to get out of there as quickly as I could. I thought if I really got going, I could toss it off in a couple of weeks. But it wasn't so simple, getting some coherence into those wild hallucinations of hers. And what made it even worse was that she was around all the time, hovering over me, afraid I'd do injury to that precious brainchild of hers.
Gillis takes... Go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go.
Okay. Gillis takes 2 or 3 pages from Norma's handwritten script and crosses them out and puts them on one side. Norma rises and looks over his shoulder.
What's that?
It's just a scene I cut out.
What scene?
The one where you go to the slave market. You can cut right to the scene where John the Baptist...
Cut away from me?
Honestly, it's a little old hat. I don't want that anymore.
They don't? Then why do they still write me fan letters every day? Why do they beg me for my photograph? Why? Because they want to see me. Norma Desmond.
Okay.
On the table in front of her are the photographs which she is signing.
Norma Desmond. Sometimes I felt I couldn't breathe in that room. It was so thick with Norma Desmond, staring at me, crowding me, stampeding me. Norma Desmonds, more Norma Desmonds, and still more Norma Desmonds. It wasn't all work, of course. About 2 or 3 times a week, Max would haul up that enormous oil painting that had been presented to her by some Nevada Chamber of Commerce, and we'd see a movie right in her living room. It was all very formal. A demi-tasse, an after-dinner drink, loge seats. So much nicer than going out, she used to say. They were silent movies, and Max would run the machine, which was just as well. It kept him from giving us an accompaniment on that rusty organ. She'd sit very close to me, and she'd smell of tuberoses, which is not my favorite perfume, not by a long shot. She was always holding me by the arm or by the hand, but I always thought it was just like caressing a dog. Then again, maybe it was, because she was so excited about that old worn-up celluloid up there on the screen. I guess I don't have to tell you who the star was. They were always her pictures. That's all she ever wanted to see.
On the screen flickers a famous scene from one of Norma's old silent pictures. It is not to be a funny scene, it is old-fashioned, but shows her incredible beauty and the screen presence which made her the greatest star of the day.
Still wonderful, isn't it? And no dialogue. We didn't need dialogue. We had faces. There just aren't any faces like that anymore. Well, maybe one Garbo. Those idiot producers, those imbeciles, haven't they got any eyes? Have they forgotten what a star looks like? I'll show them. I'll be up there again, so help me.
Dissolve to the big room at night.
Except for those outbursts of hers, it was the quietest house imaginable. The telephone never rang. The doorbell never rang. No one ever came. No, that's not quite true. Every second Tuesday, there'd be a little bridge game in the house at a 20th of a cent a point. I'd get half her winnings. Once they ran up to $1.70, which was about the only cash money I ever got. The others around the table would be actor friends, dim figures you may still remember from the silent days. I used to think of them as her waxworks.
Beside Norma sits Gillis on a game which bores him extremely. There's an ashtray on the card table, and Norma holds it out for Gillis to take away. He crosses the room and the fireplace. The camera pulls back and reveals a card table around which sits Norma and 3 silent movie legends. In the entrance hall, Max stands in the open doorway. Outside are the 2 men who came to the apartment for Gillis's car. Gillis steps back so that he cannot be seen from the door. A second later, Max appears, looking for him.
Some men are here. They asked for you.
I'm not here.
That's what I told them.
Good.
They found your car in the garage. They're going to tow it away.
The ashtray, Joe dear. Can we have the ashtray?
I want to talk to you for a minute.
Not now, dear. I'm playing 3 no trump.
They've come from my car.
Please, please. Now I've forgotten how many spades are out.
I need some money right now.
Can't you wait till I'm dummy?
No.
Please!
Gillis stands frustrated. At the entrance to the house, it is half open. Gillis comes into the shot and takes cover as he looks out. The men of the finance company are cranking up the car. Max stands watching silently. When they finish the cranking job, the men climb into the front seat of a truck. Over the shot is the sound of the truck being started and the car is moving away. Gillis moves out into the courtyard and stands staring after his car. And from the house comes Norma.
Now what is it? Where's the fire?
I've lost my car.
Oh, and I thought it was a matter of life and death.
It is to me. That's why I came to this house. That's why I took this job ghostwriting.
Now you're being silly. We don't need 2 cars. We have a car, and not one of those cheap new things made of chromium and spit and risotto francini. Have you ever heard of any risotto francinis? All handmade. Cost me $28,000.
The camera has panned over to the garage and focuses on the dirty old risotto francini on its blocks.
Fraschini, that's what I meant.
So Max got that old bus down off its blocks and polished it up. She'd take me for rides in the hills above Sunset. The whole thing was upholstered in leopard skin and had one of those car phones, all gold-plated.
That's a dreadful shirt you're wearing.
What's wrong with it?
Nothing if you work in a filling station. And I'm getting rather bored with that sport jacket and those same baggy pants. Max, what's a good men's shop in town? The very best. Well, go there.
I don't need any clothes, and I certainly don't want you buying them for...
Why begrudge me a little fun? I just want you to look nice, my stray little boy.
Dissolve to a men's department where at an elegant Wilshire store. Gillis stands in front of a full-length triple mirror, surrounded by a couple of salesmen and the tailor, who is busily working out alterations. Gillis wears a double-breasted gray flannel coat with chalk stripes. His trousers belong to another suit of Glen plaid. Norma is running the show.
There's nothing like gray flannel with a chalk stripe. This one, silver-breasted, of course. Now we need a top coat. Let's see what you have in camel's hair. How about some evening clothes?
I don't want a tuxedo.
Of course not. Tuxedos are for waiters. We want some tails.
What would I do with tails?
For parties. What about New Year's Eve? Where are your evening clothes?
This way, madame.
A salesman arrives with a selection of top coats.
Here are some camel hairs, but I'd like you to just feel this one. It's vicuna. Of course, it's a little more expensive.
camel's hair will do.
As long as the lady's paying, why not go for the vicuna?
Dissolved to a long shot of the Desmond house. It is December, and it is raining. In the room over the garage.
The last week in December, the rains came. A great big package of rain. Oversized like everything else in California. It came right through the old roof of my room above the garage. She had Max move me to the main house. I didn't much like the idea. The only time I could have to myself was in that room, but it was better than sleeping in a raincoat and galoshes. Anyway, it was dry in the big house, even though it smelled close and musty. Generations of moths had grown fat off the carpet. Whose room was this?
It was the room of the husband, or of the husbands, I should say. Madame has been married 3 times.
I guess this is the one you can see Catalina from. Only this isn't the day. Hey, what's with this door? There isn't any lock.
There are no locks anywhere in this house.
How come?
The doctor suggested it.
What doctor?
Madame's doctor. She has moments of melancholy. There have been some suicide attempts.
I guess it's hard to take, being sent to the showers, even if you've got platinum plumbing.
We have to be very careful. No sleeping pills, no razor blades. We shut off the gas in her bedroom.
Why? Her career? She got enough out of it. She's not forgotten. She still gets those fan letters.
I wouldn't look too closely at the postmarks.
You send them. Is that it, Max?
I'd better press your evening clothes, sir. You have not forgotten Madame's New Year's party?
No, I haven't. I suppose all the waxworks are coming.
I don't know, sir. Madame made the arrangements.
Cut to Norma Desmond's bedroom.
There it was again, that room of hers, all satin and ruffles and that bed like a gilded robot. The perfect setting for a silent movie queen. Poor devil, still waving proudly to a parade which had long since passed her by.
Cut to the staircase of Norma's house. Gillis is coming down the stairs in his tailcoat, adjusting the handkerchief in his pocket. He obviously feels a little uneasy in this outfit. From below comes a tango of the 20s, played by a small orchestra. Gillis stops in the archway leading into the big room and looks around.
So she was giving a New Year's Eve party for me and those silent friends of hers. Well, she'd certainly gone to town. I hadn't expected anything like this.
At the buffet are Max and Norma. She is drinking a glass of champagne. She is wearing a diamond evening dress, very high style, with long black gloves and a headdress of paradise feathers. Her eyes fall on Gillis. She puts down the glass of champagne and picks up a gardenia boutonniere and moves towards him.
Joe, you look absolutely divine. Turn around.
Please.
Come on. Perfect. Wonderful shoulders. And I love that line.
All padding. Don't let it fool you.
Come here.
You know, to me, dressing up was always just putting on my dark blue suit.
I don't like those studs they've sent. I want you to have pearls. Nice, big pearls.
Now, I'm not going to wear earrings, I can tell you that.
Cute. Let's have some drinks.
Shouldn't we wait for the others?
Careful, it's slippery. I had it waxed. Here's to us. You know, this floor used to be wood, but I had it changed. Valentino said there is nothing like tiles for a tango.
Not on the same floor with Valentino.
Just follow me.
They begin to tango.
Don't bend back like that.
It's those feathers. They tickle.
As Norma and Gillis tango, Gillis glances at his wristwatch.
It's 10:15. What time are they supposed to get here?
Who?
The other guests.
There are no other guests. We don't want to share this night with other people. This is for you and me.
I understand some rich guy bought up all the tickets for a performance at the Metropolitan and sat there listening to La Traviata all by himself. He was afraid of catching cold.
Hold me tighter.
Come midnight, how about blindfolding the orchestra and smashing champagne glasses on Max's head?
You think this is all very funny?
A little.
Is it funny that I'm in love with you?
What's that?
I'm in love with you. Don't you know that? I've been in love with you all along.
They dance on. Gillis is acutely embarrassed. The camera pulls back past the faces of the musicians who play on with a rather overemphasized lack of interest. Finally, it winds up on Max behind the buffet. He stands watching Gillis, a faint trace of pity in his eyes. Dissolved to Norma's finger with the cigarette gadget as she inserts the cigarette.
It got to be about 11:15. I felt trapped, like the cigarette in the prongs of that contraption on her finger.
Norma and Gillis are sitting on the couch in front of the cavernous fireplace.
What a wonderful next year it's going to be. What fun we're going to have. I'll have the pool filled for you. Or I'll open my house in Malibu and you can have the whole ocean. Or I'll buy you a boat and we'll sail to Hawaii.
Stop it. You aren't going to buy me anything. You've bought me enough.
Shut up, I'm rich. I'm richer than all this new Hollywood trash. I've got $1 million.
Keep it.
I own 3 blocks downtown. I have oil in Bakersfield pumping, pumping, pumping. What's it for but to buy us anything we want?
Cut out that us business.
What's the matter with you?
What right do you have to take me for granted?
What right? Do you want me to tell you?
Has it ever occurred that I may have a life of my own? That there may be some girl I'm crazy about?
Who, some car hop or a dress extra?
Why not? What I'm trying to say is that I'm all wrong for you. You want a Valentino, somebody with polo ponies, a big shot.
What you're trying to say is that you don't want me to love you. Is that it?
Norma slaps his face and rushes from the room and upstairs. Gillis stands paralyzed, the slap burning his cheek. Norma rushes up the last few steps, down the corridor and into her bedroom, banging the door. The camera moves slowly towards the door, catering the gouged out lock. Gillis still stands motionless and glances furtively to see if his humiliation has been observed. The musicians are playing away. They have turned their eyes away from Gillis, rather too ostentatiously for comfort. Gillis moves forward. Max is subtler than the musicians. He appears very busy at the buffet, putting empty bottles and used glasses on a tray. He walks across the room. Gillis starts slowly out. As he does so, his long gold keychain catches on a carved ornament of the sofa and holds him for a second of additional embarrassment. He yanks it loose and walks with as much nonchalance as he can muster. He exits Norma Desmond's house.
I didn't know where I was going. I just had to get out of there. I had to be with people my own age. I had to hear somebody laugh again. I thought of Artie Green. There was bound to be a New Year's shindig going on in his apartment down in Las Palmas. The Hawk shop set. Not a job in the room, but lots of fun on the cuff.
Cut to Artie Green's apartment. It is the most modest one-room affair, jam-packed with young people flowing over into the miniature bathroom and the microscopic kitchenette. The only drink being served is a punch from a pressed glass bowl. But everybody is having a hell of a time. Most of the men are in slacks and sweaters, and only a few of the girls in something that vaguely suggests a party dress. The door behind some of the singers is pushed open, jostling them out of their places. In comes Gillis, his hair and face wet, the collar of his vicuna coat turned up. Artie stops conducting the band, but the commercial goes right on.
Well, what do you know? Joe Gillis.
Hi, Artie.
Where you been keeping that dirty old face of yours? Fans, you all know Joe Gillis? The well-known train robber, opium smuggler, and Black Dahlia suspects. Give me your coat.
Let it ride for a while.
You're going to stay for a while, aren't you?
That was the general idea.
Come on. What is this, mink? Judas H. Priest, who did you borrow this from? Adolf Menju?
Close, but no cigar.
Say, you're not really smuggling opium these days, are you?
Where's the bar? Good party.
It's all on CBS. Just signed up to play the lead in a new suspense serial, The Belcher. I know many a strange dish, so I belch at night.
Listen, Artie, can I stick around here for a while?
Sure, this will go on all night.
I mean, could you put me up for a couple of weeks?
It just so happens we have a vacancy on the couch.
I'll take it.
I'll have the bellhop take care of your luggage. Just register here.
Hello,
The girl
Mr.
turns
Gillis.
around. It's Betty Schaefer.
Hello, Mr. Gillis.
You know each other?
Let me help you. Betty Schaefer, Sheldrake's office.
Sure. Bases loaded.
Wait a minute. This is the woman who I love. What's going on? Who was loaded?
Don't worry. She's just a fan for my literary output.
Hurt Feelings Department.
About that luggage. Where's the phone?
Over by the Rainbow Room.
Gillis squeezes his way through the group of people to the telephone, which is next to an open door leading to a bathroom. The phone is busy. A girl sits listening to it, giggling wildly. Another girl beside her is laughing too. They are apparently sharing a conversation with some man on the other end of the wire. The telephone passes from hand to hand, and Gillis watches impatiently.
When you're through with that thing, can I have it?
Betty Schaefer comes up with a glass.
You forgot this.
Thanks.
I've been hoping to run into you.
What for? As if I didn't know. You wanted to recover that knife you stuck in my back.
I felt a little guilty, so I got out some of your old stories.
Why, you sweet kid.
There's one called Windows, something with a window.
Blind Windows. How did you like it?
I didn't.
Thank you.
Except for about 6 pages. You've got a flashback there. Is there someplace we can talk?
How about the Rainbow Room?
I said you could have my couch. I didn't say you could have my girl.
This is shop talk.
Cut to Artie's bathroom. It's a little less noisy, although there are some guests in there, chatting and having fun. Betty and Gillis sit down on the edge of the tub.
Now, if I got you correctly, there was a short stretch of my fiction you found worthy of notice.
The flashback in the courtroom when she tells about being a school teacher.
That wasn't exactly fiction. That's something that happened to my cousin Katie. She taught school in Dayton.
Maybe that's why it's good. If you forgot all the rest and made those 6 pages into something.
Into what? A lampshade?
Into something true, something moving.
Who wants true? Who wants moving?
Drop that attitude. There are good pictures being made, and this can be one of them.
Want me to start right now? Maybe there's some paper around.
I'm serious. I've got a few ideas.
I've got some ideas myself. One of them being this is New Year's Eve. How about living it up a little?
As for instance,
Well,
we could make some paper boats and have a regatta. Or should we just turn on the shower?
how about capturing the kitchen and barricading the door?
Are you hungry?
Hungry. After 12 years in the Burmese jungle, I am starving, Lady Agatha. Starving for a white shoulder.
Philip, you're mad.
You can have the phone now.
Thirsting for the coolness of your lips.
No, Philip, no. We must be strong. You're still wearing the uniform of the Coldstream Guards. Furthermore, you can have the phone now.
Okay. I find I'm terribly afraid of losing.
You won't. I'll get us a refill of this awful stuff.
You'll be waiting for me.
With a wildly beating heart.
Life can be beautiful.
In the main room, Gillis squeezes himself through some guests to the phone. He is to stand in a cramped position, holding the instrument close to him as he dials a number.
Max, this is Mr. Gillis. I want you to do me a favor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gillis. I cannot talk right now.
Yes, you can. I want you to get my old suitcase and I want you to throw in my old clothes, the ones I came with, and my typewriter. I'll have somebody pick them up.
I have no time to talk. The doctor is here.
What doctor? What's going on?
She got the razor from your room. She cut her wrists.
Max.
He hangs up the dead receiver and stands numb with shock. Betty elbows her way up to him, carrying 2 new punch glasses filled.
I just got the recipe. Take 2 packages of cough drops, dissolve them in 1 gallon of lukewarm grape juice.
Gillis looks up at her and without a word, he pushes her aside so that she spills the drinks. He makes his way through the guests to the Vicuna coat, pulls it from the shelf, some books tumbling with it, and he rushes towards the door and out. Betty stands looking after him, completely bewildered. At Norma Desmond's house, the doctor's car is parked in the driveway. A taxi pulls up. Gillis jumps out and throws a couple of dollars to the driver and runs towards the house. From the door come the musicians in hats and overcoats carrying their instruments. Gillis pushes past them. Gillis crosses the hall and starts up the stairs 3 at a time. Down the stairs comes Max and the doctor carrying a black bag.
How is she?
Go on up.
In Norma Desmond's bedroom, only 1 alabaster lamp lights the big, cold room. On the bed lies Norma in her evening dress. She is white as a sheet, her wrists are bandaged. Her eyes are wide open, staring at the ceiling. One of her shoes is slipped off her foot. Gillis opens the door and stands there for a second. Then he slowly moves to the foot of her bed. He takes the other shoe from her feet and puts them on the floor.
Go away.
What kind of a silly thing was that to do?
I'll do it again. I'll do it again. I'll do it again.
That sure will make attractive headlines. Great star kills herself for some crumb of a writer.
Great stars have great pride. Go away. Go to that girl of yours.
Look, I was making that up because I thought the whole thing was a mistake. I didn't want to hurt you. You've been good to me. You're the only person in this stinking town that has been good to me.
Why don't you just say thank you and go.
His eyes fall on her wrist as she watches, and he begins to whistle Auld Lang Syne.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, darling.
She kisses him and enfolds him in her bandaged arms. Dissolved to the patio of Norma's house on a sunny day some days later.
Come April, she had fixed up the pool for me. We had finished that script of hers, such as it was. I wasn't a writer anymore. I was drifting through a blurry, Novocaine existence, feeling no pain, pampered and spoiled and watched over as if I were some kind of a sickly Persian prince.
Luncheon is ready, darling.
Okay.
I went to Santa Monica and got some of these small lobsters.
Mr. Gillis hates lobsters.
There is some ham and eggs for Mr. Gillis.
Very good. Now, this afternoon, I want you to get out the car and take the script over to Paramount. Deliver it to Mr. DeMille in person.
Yes, madame.
You're really going to send it to DeMille?
This is the day. The chart from my astrologer. She read DeMille's horoscopes. She read mine.
Did she read the script?
DeMille is Leo, I'm Scorpio. Mars has been transiting Jupiter for weeks. Today is the day of greatest conjunction. Now, turn around. Let me dry you.
I hope you realize, Norma, that scripts don't sell on astrologers' charts.
I'm not just selling the script. I'm selling me, Norma Desmond in Salome. How does that sound?
Sounds fine.
DeMille will jump at it.
Norma, dear, don't get your hopes up too high. I'm sure DeMille would like to make a picture with you.
The question is, would I like to make a picture with him?
Change to the Isotta Fraschini driving down Sunset Boulevard about 8:30 that evening.
A few evenings later, we were going to the house of one of the waxworks for some bridge. She'd taught me how to play bridge by then, just as she'd taught me some fancy tango steps and what white wine to drink with what fish.
That idiot forgot to fill my cigarette case.
Have one of mine.
They're awful. They make me cough.
Pull up at the drugstore, will you, Max? I'll get you some.
You're a darling.
We're at Schwab's drugstore.
Give me a pack of those Turkish cigarettes, Melacrinos.
Stick 'em up, Gillis, or I'll let you have it.
At the soda fountain are Artie Green and Betty Schaefer.
Hello.
You don't know how glad I am to see you.
Walking out on the mob, what's the big idea?
I'm sorry about New Year's. Would you believe me if I said I had to be with a sick friend?
Well, that explains it. A pal of his got bitten by Lassie, gangrene set in, and now he's all dressed up for the funeral.
Stop it, Artie, will you? Where have you been keeping yourself? I've got the most wonderful news for you.
I haven't been keeping myself at all. Not lately.
I called your apartment. I called your agent. I was just about to call the Bureau of Missing Persons.
What's the wonderful news?
Sheldrake likes the angle about the teachers.
What teacher?
Blind windows. I got him all hopped up about it.
You did?
He thinks it could be made into something.
Into what? A lampshade?
Into something for Olivia de Havilland. They have a commitment with de Havilland.
Unless you'd rather have Sandra Bernhard.
This is on the level. Sheldrake really went for it.
Okay. Where's the cash?
Where's the story? I bluffed it out with a few notions of my own. It's really just a springboard. It needs work.
I was afraid of that.
I've got 20 pages of notes. I've got a pretty good character for the man.
Could you work in a part for poor old Artie? Kind of a repulsive Rory Calhoun?
Shut up, Artie. Now, if we could sit down for 2 weeks and get a story.
Sorry, Miss Schaefer, but I've given up writing on spec.
This is half sold.
As a matter of fact, I've given up writing altogether.
I told you he took over where Budsy Siegel left off. Get those studs, get those cufflinks.
I've got to run along. Thanks anyway for your interest in my career.
It's not your career, it's mine. I wanted to get in on this deal. I don't want to be a reader all my life. I want to write.
Sorry if I crossed you up.
You sure have.
So long.
Babe, it's like that producer says. In life, you got to take the bitter with the sour.
Gillis returns to the Isotta Fraschini.
What on earth, darling? It took you hours.
I ran into some people I knew.
Where are my cigarettes?
Where are your... Norma, you're smoking too much.
Dissolved to Norma's living room.
Whenever she suspected I was getting bored, she would put on a live show for me. The Norma Desmond Follies. Her first number was always the Max Sennett Bathing Beauty.
The camera pulls back to reveal that Norma's black pajama trousers are rolled up over her knees and her black stockings are rolled down below them. The whole effect approximates a Max Minute bathing costume pretty effectively. She points at a leather poof.
This is a rock. I can still see myself in the lines. Bibi Daniels, Marie Prevost, Mabel Normand. Mabel was always stepping on my feet. What's the matter with you, darling? Why are you so glum?
Nothing's the matter. I'm having a great time. Show me some more.
All right. Give me this. I need it for a mustache. Now close your eyes.
Something was the matter, all right. I was thinking about that girl of Hardy's, that Miss Schaefer. She was so like all us writers when we first hit Hollywood, itching with ambition, panting to get your names up there. Screenplay, bye. Original story, bye. Audiences don't know somebody sits down and writes a picture. They think the actors make it up as they go along.
Open your eyes.
Norma has equipped herself with a derby hat, a cane, and a blacked-in small mustache. She goes into a little chaplain routine. While she is doing it, the telephone rings, and after a moment, Max comes into the living room.
Madame is wanted on the telephone.
Oh, you know better than to interrupt me.
Paramount is calling.
Who?
Paramount Studios.
Now do you believe me? I told you DeMille would jump at it.
It is not Mr. DeMille in person. It is someone by the name of Gordon Cole. He says it is very important.
Certainly it's important. It's important enough for Mr. DeMille to call me personally. The idea of having an assistant call me.
I myself was surprised at Mr. DeMille's manners.
Say I'm busy and hang up.
Very good, madame.
How do you like that? We've made 12 pictures together, his greatest successes.
Maybe DeMille is shooting.
I know that trick. He wants to belittle me. He's trying to get my pride down. I've waited 20 years for this call. Now, Mr. DeMille can wait until I'm good and ready.
Dissolve to Norma in the limousine, in the Zotafraskini limousine, driving down Melrose.
About 3 days later, she was good and ready. Incredible as it may seem, there had been some more of those calls from Paramount. So she put on about half a pound of makeup, fixed it up with a veil, and set forth to see DeMille in person.
If you will pardon me, madame, the shadow of the left eye is not quite balanced.
Oh, thank you, Max.
At the main gate of Paramount Studios, the car drives down Bronson and stops smack in front of the iron gate. A young policeman is talking to an extra, and an older policeman sits reading a newspaper. Max sounds the horn impatiently.
Hold the noise!
To see Mr. DeMille, open the gate.
Mr. DeMille is shooting. You got an appointment?
No appointment is necessary. I am bringing Norma Desmond.
Norma who?
Jonesy! Jonesy, come here, Jonesy.
Yeah? Well, if it isn't Miss Desmond. How have you been, Miss Desmond?
Fine, Jonesy. Now open that gate.
Sure, Miss Desmond. Come on, Mac.
They can't drive on the lot without a pass.
Miss Desmond can. Come on.
They fling open the gate.
Stage 18, Miss Desmond.
Thank you, Jonesy. And teach your friend some manners. Tell him without me, he wouldn't have any job, because without me, there wouldn't be any Paramount studio. Go on.
Norma Desmond coming in to see Mr. DeMille.
At stage 18, a scene from Samson and Delilah is being rehearsed in the background. The usual turbulent activity surrounds it. Extras, makeup men, grips, assistants. In the dim foreground, a stagehand is answering a stand telephone. He puts down the phone and moves.
Norma Desmond is coming to see Mr. DeMille. Hey, Norma Desmond is coming to see Mr. DeMille. Norma Desmond is coming in to see you, Mr. DeMille.
Norma Desmond?
She must be 1,000,000 years old.
I hate to think where that puts me. I could be her father.
I'm terribly sorry, Mr. DeMille.
It must be about that appalling script of hers. What can I say to her? What can I say?
I could give her the brush.
Nobody gives Norma Desmond the brush. Hold everything!
Norma's limousine has driven up. Max dismounts and opens the door.
Don't you want to come along, darling?
I don't think so. It's your script. It's your show. Good luck.
Thank you, darling.
At the door of stage 18, the first assistant is holding it open. In the doorway stands Cecil B. DeMille. Seeing Norma, he stretches out his arms.
Hello, young fellow.
Hello, Mr. DeMille. Last time I saw you was someplace very gay. I remember waving to you. I was dancing on a table.
Lots of people were. Limburg had just landed in Paris. Come on in.
In stage 18, the ensuing dialogue, Mr. DeMille walks Norma through the set.
Norma, I want to apologize for not calling you.
You'd better. I'm very angry.
I'm pretty busy, as you can see.
That's no excuse. You read the script, didn't you?
Oh, yes, I did.
Then you could have picked up the phone yourself instead of leaving it to one of your assistants.
What assistant?
Oh, don't play innocent. Somebody named Gordon Cole.
Gordon Cole?
And if you hadn't been pretty darned interested in that script, he wouldn't have tried to get me on the phone 10 times.
Gordon Cole. Look, Norma, I'm in the middle of rehearsal. Make yourself comfortable. Get me Gordon Cole on the phone.
Norma starts to sit and sees the name Miss Lamar on the chair. With a look of distaste, she sits on the one marked C.B. DeMille. From somewhere comes a voice.
Hey, Miss Desmond! Miss Desmond! Up here!
Norma looks up at the scaffolding where an electrician sits next to a light.
It's me, Hawkeye.
Hello.
Let's get a good look at you.
The beam of the lamp moves towards Norma. It hits her. She sits bathed in light. A couple of old costume extras recognize her. It's Norma Desmond! Norma! Hello, Miss Desmond. It's Bessie. On another part of the stage, the first assistant brings the portable phone to DeMille. DeMille lifts the receiver.
Hello?
Prop department, Gordon Cole speaking.
Cole, this is C.B. DeMille. Have you been calling Norma Desmond? What's it about?
It's that car of hers, an old Isata Frashini. Her chauffeur drove it onto the lot the other day. It looks just right for the Crosby picture. We want to rent it for a couple of weeks.
Oh, well, thank you.
Norma still sits in the shaft of light, surrounded by about a dozen people who have come to pay cordage. DeMille gestures up to Hawkeye. The light shifts away. The people about Norma disperse, and slowly, with various ad-libs.
Well, Norma, I got a hold of Gordon Cole.
Did you see them? Did you see how they come?
You know, crazy things happen in this business. I hope you haven't lost your sense of humor.
They were coming like little children.
Norma, dear, all those telephone calls.
It's all right. I've forgiven you. You like the script. That's what matters.
It's got a lot of good things. Of course, it would be a very expensive picture.
Well, who cares? Can't you see them standing at the box office, lines that stretch for blocks?
Look, Norma, it isn't entirely my decision. New York must be consulted.
I'm not afraid. Ask any exhibitor in the country. I am not forgotten.
Of course you're not, Norma.
Let's get one thing straight here and now. I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
Ready with the shot, Mr. DeMille.
You'll pardon me, Norma. Why don't you just sit and watch?
Okay, here we go.
Roll them.
Action.
The Azada Fraschini is parked outside of stage 18. Max stands talking to Gillis, who's seated in the car.
You see those offices there? Mr. Gillis, they used to be her dressing room, the whole row.
That didn't leave much room for Wallace Reed.
He had a great big bungalow on wheels. I had the upstairs. See where it says Reader's Department? I remember my walls were covered with black patent leather.
I'll be with you in a minute.
He crosses the street and towards the green staircase leading to the second floor. Two prop men are walking down the street and come into the shot.
Hey, that's a comic Cool was talking about. Do you mind if we look inside?
Go away, go away.
At a cubicle in the reader's department, behind the desk sits Betty Schaefer, typing the synopsis of a novel. A half-eaten apple is marking her place. The door opens and Gillis enters.
Just so you don't think I'm a complete swine, if there's anything in Dark Windows you can use, take it. It's all yours.
Well, for heaven's sake. Have a chair.
I mean it. It's no good to me anyway. Help yourself.
Why should you do that?
If you get 100,000 for it, you buy me a box of chocolate creams. If you get an Oscar, I get the left foot.
You know, I'd take you up on that in a minute. I'm just not good enough to do it all myself.
What about all those ideas you had?
We'll see if they make sense. To begin with, I think you should throw out all that psychological stuff exploring a killer's sick mind.
Psychopaths sell like hotcakes.
This story is about teachers, their threadbare lives, their struggles. Here are people doing the most important job in the world, and they have to worry about getting enough money to resole their shoes. To me, it can be as exciting as any chase, any gunplay.
Check.
Now, I see her teaching day classes while he teaches night school. The first time they meet.
Look, if you don't mind, I haven't got time to listen to the whole plot.
Well, I'll make it short.
Sorry, it's your baby now.
I'm not good enough to write it alone. We'll have to do it together.
I'm all tied up. I can't.
Well, couldn't we work in the evenings? 6 o'clock in the morning. This next month, I'm completely at your disposal. Artie is out of town.
What has Artie got to do with it?
We're engaged.
Good for you. You've got yourself the best guy in town.
I think so. They're on location in Arizona shooting a Western. I'm free every evening, every weekend. If you want, we could work at your place.
It's just impossible.
Nobody can be that busy.
Look, Betty, it can't be done. It's out. I've given you the story. Stop being chicken-hearted. Write it.
Honest to goodness, I hate you.
And don't make it too dreary. How about this for a situation? The two live in the same boarding house. They're so poor, they have to share the same room, the same bed. They sleep in shifts, of course, because she teaches daytimes and he teaches at night, see?
Are you kidding? Because I think it's good.
So do I.
Come on back. Let me show you where it fits in.
So long.
Oh, you!
And here's the title, An Apple for the Teacher.
He ducks out quickly and slams the door behind him. Betty looks after him, then angrily hurls the apple into the wastebasket. Cut to the staircase outside the reader's department. Max is rushing up the stairs toward the descending Gillis.
What's the matter, Max?
I just found out why all those telephone calls. It is not Miss Desmond that they want. It's the car they want to rent.
What?
Shh.
At stage 18, the first assistant has opened the door. Emil is showing Norma out.
Goodbye, young fellow. We'll see what we can do.
I'm not worried. Everything will be fine. The old team together. Nothing can stop us.
DeMille stands for a minute and watches after her and turns to his assistant.
Get Gordon Cole, tell him to forget about her car. He can find another old car. I'll buy him 5 old cars if necessary.
Yes, Mr. DeMille.
Gillis is seated in the rear of the Azada Fraschini. Max helps Norma in and puts a robe over her.
How did it go?
It couldn't have gone better. It's practically set. Of course, he has to finish this picture first, but mine will be his next. I feel it. I feel it.
He must be quite a guy.
Just wonderful. He says I've never looked better in my life. Of course, I've never looked better because I've never been as happy. Kiss me, darling.
A slow dissolve. Dissolve on to a close-up of Norma Desmond's face with absolutely no makeup. A hand with a strong, small flashlight comes into the picture.
After that, an army of beauty experts invaded her house on Sunset Boulevard. She went through a merciless series of treatments, massages, sweat cabinets, mud baths, ice compresses, electric devices. She lived on vegetable juices and went to bed at 9. She was determined to be ready for those cameras that would never turn.
In Norma's bedroom, it is 9 o'clock that evening. She is in a nightgown and negligee and has put a triangular patches on the saddle of her nose and at the outer corner of each eye. She is rubbing lotion on her hands. She gets up and crosses to Gillis's room and opens it.
Joe, darling, are you there?
Yes, Norma.
Don't turn around. Keep your eyes on the book.
Yes, Norma.
I just came to say goodnight. I don't want you to see me. I'm not very attractive.
Good night.
I've lost half a pound since Tuesday.
Good.
I was a little worried about the line of my throat. This woman has done wonders with it.
Good.
You'd better get to bed yourself.
I think I'll read a little.
You went out last night, didn't you, Joe?
Why do you say that?
I just happened to know it. I had a nightmare and I screamed for you. You weren't there. Where were you?
I went for a walk.
No, you didn't. You took the car.
All right, I drove to the beach. Norma, you don't want me to feel I'm locked up in this house.
No, of course not, Joe. It's just that I don't want to be left alone. Not now, while I'm under this terrible strain. My nerves are being torn apart. All I ask for you is to be a little patient and a little kind.
I haven't done anything, Norma.
Of course you haven't. I wouldn't let you. Good night, my darling.
Dissolve to the upper landing of the stairway and the hall below. Gillis, with his coat on by now, comes cautiously to the upper railing and looks down to the lighted hall.
Yes, I was playing hooky every night along in there. It made me think of when I was 12 and used to sneak out on the folks to see a gangster picture. This time, it wasn't to see a picture, it was to try and write one. That story of mine Betty Schaefer had dug up kept going through my head like a dozen locomotives.
Cut to an empty street at the Paramount Studios. Gillis and Betty are walking down it. From a stage where they are erecting a new set comes a great shaft of light. They are stopped at an apple vending machine in the foreground. They buy themselves a couple of apples and walk on. Betty and Gillis are walking down as the camera passes ahead of them.
Look at this street. All cardboard, all hollow, all phony, all done with mirrors. I like it better than any street in the world. Maybe because I used to play here when I was a kid.
What were you, a child actress?
I was born just 2 blocks from this studio, right on Lemon Grove Avenue. Father was head electrician here till he died. Mother still works in wardrobe.
Second generation, huh?
Oh, 3rd. Grandma did stunt work for Pearl White. I come from a picture family. Naturally, they took it for granted I was to become a great star. So I had 10 years of dramatic lessons, diction, dancing. Then the studio made a test. Well, they didn't like my nose. It slanted this way a little. I went to a doctor and had it fixed. They made more tests, and they were crazy about my nose. Only they didn't like my acting.
At the reader's office at Paramount, we start on a long shot. The boom moves forward to the only two lights. There, the door and window of Betty Schaefer's cubicle. Betty sits at the desk typing. Gillis, with his coat off, his shirt sleeves rolled up, is pacing the floor, discussing the construction of a sentence, the discussion of a statement. Betty suggests some coffee. Gillis agrees, and from the electric plate on the shelf beside her, Betty takes a glass of the coffee machine. Gillis seats himself in her chair and starts typing.
So we'd started working on it, the two of us, nights when the studio was deserted up in her little cubbyhole of an office.
I got the funniest letter from Artie. It's rained every day since they got to Arizona. They rewrote the whole picture for rain and shot half of it. Now the sun is out. Nobody knows when they'll get back.
Good.
What's good about it? I miss him something fierce.
I mean, this is good dialogue along in here. It'll play.
It will?
Sure, especially with lots of music underneath, drowning it out.
Don't you sometimes hate yourself?
Constantly. No, in all seriousness, it's really good. It's fun writing again. I'm happy here, honest I am.
He resumes typing. Betty puts the water on. They have cigarettes on the desk. And as we see Gillis open up a gold cigarette case and lighter on the table by the couch, Betty reaches for a cigarette. The inscription engraved inside the case catches her eye. It reads, "Mad about the boy. Love, Norma."
Who's Norma?
Who's who?
I'm sorry. I don't usually read private cigarette cases.
Oh, that. It's from a friend of mine, a middle-aged lady, very foolish and very generous.
I'll say. This is solid gold.
I gave her some advice on an idiotic script.
It's that old familiar story. You help a timid little soul across a crowded street. She turns out to be a multimillionaire and leaves you all her money.
That's the trouble with you readers. You know all the plots. Now suppose you proofread page 10 while the water boils.
Gillis examines Betty Schaefer's perfect nose by the flame of his lighter.
Nice job.
Should be. It cost $300.
That's the nicest I've ever heard.
Not at all. It taught me a little sense. It got me a job in the mailroom, worked up to the stenographic. Now I'm a reader.
Come clean, Betty. At night you weep for those lost close-ups, those gala openings.
Not once. What's wrong with being on the other side of the camera? It's really more fun.
3 cheers for Betty Schaefer. I will now kiss that nose of yours.
If you please.
May I say you smell real special.
Must be my new shampoo.
That's no shampoo. It's more like a pile of freshly laundered handkerchiefs, like a brand new automobile. How old are you anyway?
22.
That's it. You smell of being 22. And may I suggest that if we're ever to finish this story, you keep at least 2 feet away from me. And the first time you see me come any closer, I want you to take off a shoe and clunk me over the head with it. Now back to the typewriter.
Dissolved to the garage of the Desmond home, Gillis gets out, and from the seat next to him, he takes a batch of the script, folds it under his arm, and stuffs it in his pocket. He suddenly becomes aware that he is being watched. He turns to find Max standing in the moonlight, evidently waiting for him.
What is it, Max? Want to wash the car, or are you doing a little spying in your off hours?
You must be very careful as you cross the patio. Madame may see you watching.
How about my going up the kitchen stairs and undressing in the dark? Will that do it?
I'm not inquiring where Mr. Gillis goes every night.
Why don't you? I'm writing a script and I'm going to finish it no matter what.
It's just that I'm very worried about Madame.
Sure you are. And we're not helping her any, feeding her lies and more lies, getting herself ready for a picture. What happens when she finds out?
She never will. That is my job. It has been for a long time. You must understand, I discovered her when she was 18. I made her a star. I cannot let her be destroyed.
You made her a star?
I directed all her early pictures. There were the 3 young directors who showed promise in those days. D.W. Griffith, C.B. DeMille, and Max von Meyerling.
And she's turned you into a servant.
It was I who asked to come back, humiliating as it may seem. I could have gone on with my career, only I found everything unendurable after she divorced me. You see, I was her first husband.
Bum bum. In Norma Desmond's bedroom, one lamp is lit. Norma, in a white negligee with the patches on her face, is pacing up and down, a small, tormented, pitiable woman. Finally, she opens the door to Gillis's room. He is lying in bed asleep. Norma is in the doorway.
You're here, Joe. When did you come home? Where were you? Is it a woman? I know it's a woman. Who is she? Oh, Joe, why can't I ask you? I must know. I must.
Her eyes fall on Gillis's coat, in which hangs the pocket and part of the script. Norma takes it out and looks at it. She can't see it in the moonlight. She hurries with it into her bedroom. Carrying the script, she goes to the lamp and looks at it. On the first page, she sees something which confirms all of her suspicions. It reads, An Untitled Love Story by Joe Gillis and Betty Schaefer. Dissolved to Betty's cubicle. Betty is typing again. Gillis sits on the couch proofreading a scene. Betty stops typing and Gillis becomes aware her eyes are fixed on him.
Hey, what's the matter? Betty, wake up. Why are you staring at me like that?
Was I? Oh, I'm sorry.
What's wrong with you tonight? What is it, Betty?
Something came up. I don't want to talk about it.
Why not?
I just don't.
What is it you've heard? Come on, let's have it. Is it about me? Betty, there's no use running out on it. Let's face it, whatever it is.
It's nothing. I got a telegram from Artie.
From Artie? What's wrong?
He wants me to come on to Arizona. He says it only costs $2 to get married there. It would kind of save us a honeymoon.
Why don't you? You can finish the script by Thursday. Stop crying. You're getting married. That's what you've always wanted.
I don't want it now.
Why not? Don't you love Artie?
Of course, I'd love him. I always will. I'm just not in love with him anymore.
What happened?
You did.
There is a moment's pause before he takes her in his arms. The camera moves away and dissolves to the Desmond home.
Well, there it was, right in the palm of my hand. The future of Betty Schaefer, engaged to Artie Green, the nicest guy that ever lived. Ready to give him up for me. Me. She was a fool, and I loved her, and I'd been a heel not to tell her. Maybe I'd never have to. Maybe I could get away with it. Away from Norma. Maybe I could wipe the whole nasty mess right out of my life.
In Norma's room, the telephone is being dialed. Gillis enters the shot and stands listening.
Is this Gladstone 8058? 0858. Gladstone 0858. Can I speak to Miss Betty Schaefer? She must be home by now.
In Betty's flat, Connie, a girl of Betty's age whom she shares the flat with, is on the phone. Betty is in a dressing gown and comes from the bathroom, toothbrush in hand.
Betty, it's that weird sounding woman again.
What is this anyway? This is Betty Schaefer.
Miss Schaefer, you must forgive me for calling you so late, but I really feel it's my duty. It's about Mr. Gillis. You do know Mr. Gillis. Exactly how much do you know about him? Do you know where he lives? Do you know how he lives? Do you know what he lives on?
Who are you? What do you want? What business is it of yours anyway?
Miss Schaefer, I'm trying to do you a favor. I'm trying to spare you a great deal of misery. Of course, you may be too young to even suspect that there are men of this sort. I don't know what he's told you, but he does not live with relatives, nor with friends in the usual sense of the word. Ask him. Ask him again.
Suddenly, Norma senses Joe's presence and turns around. The telephone freezes in her hand. She tries to hang it up, but very calmly, Gillis takes the receiver from her.
That's right, Betty. Ask me again. This is Joe.
Joe, where are you? What's this all about?
Or maybe it would be a better idea if you came over and saw it for yourself. The address is 10086 Sunset Boulevard.
Don't hate me, Joe. I did it because I need you. I need you as I have never needed you. Look at me. Look in my eyes. How can I go back to work if I'm wasting away under this torment? You don't know what I've been through these last weeks. I got myself a revolver. You don't believe me. But I did. I stood in front of that mirror, only I couldn't make myself. It wouldn't be fair to all those people who are waiting to see me back on the screen. I can't disappoint them. Only if I'm to work, I need sleep. I need quiet. I need you. Don't just stand there hating me, shout at me, strike me, but don't hate me, Joe. Don't you hear me, Joe?
Yes, I hear you. And I wish you'd keep still so I can hear the doorbell when she rings it.
Betty and Connie are driving up the small coupe down Sunset Boulevard. Connie is looking out at the house numbers.
Here's 10,079, Betty. Must be over there. Betty, let me come with you, please.
No, I'll be all right.
In Norma's bedroom, Norma is lying on the bed. Gillis sits in a far corner of the room, motionless.
I love you, Joe. I love you, Joe. I love you, Joe. I love you, Joe. What are you going to do, Joe?
Without a word, he leaves the room. Norma raises herself on the bed, reaching for a black negligee lying at the foot of it. As she does so, she dislodges her pillow a little and reveals a revolver underneath it. Downstairs in the hall, Max crosses the hall and puts on an alpaca jacket. He turns on the lights, and outside stands Betty. From the staircase she comes.
It's all right, Max. I'll take it.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Betty.
I don't know why I'm so scared, Joe. Is it something awful?
Come on in, Betty. Ever been in one of these old Hollywood palazzos? That's from when they were making $18,000 a week and no taxes. Be careful of these tiles. They're slippery. Valentino used to dance here.
This is where you live?
You bet.
Whose house is it?
Hers.
Leads Betty in.
Who?
Just look around. There's a lot of her spread about. If you don't remember the face, you must have heard the name of Norma Desmond.
That was Norma Desmond on the phone.
Want something to drink? There's always champagne on ice and plenty of caviar.
Why did she call me?
Jealous. Ever see so much junk? She had the ceiling brought from Portugal. Look at this. Her own movie theater.
I didn't come here to see a house. What about Norma Desmond?
I'm trying to tell you, this is an enormous place. 8 master bedrooms, a sunken tub in every bathroom. There's a bowling alley in the cellar. It's lonely here, so she got herself a companion. A very simple setup. An older woman who is well-to-do, a younger man who is not doing too well. Can't you figure it out yourself?
No.
All right, I'll give you a few more clues.
No. I haven't heard any of this. I never got those telephone calls. I have never been in this house. Get your things together. Let's get out of here.
All my things. All the 18 suits, all the custom-made shoes, and the 18 dozen shirts, and the cufflinks, and the platinum keychains, and the cigarette cases.
Come on, Joe.
Come on, where? Back to a one-room apartment that I can't pay for? Back to a story that may sell and very possibly will not?
If you love me, Joe.
Look, sweetie, be practical. I've got a good thing here. A long-term contract with no options. I like it that way. Maybe it's not very admirable. Well, you and Artie can be admirable.
Joe, I can't look at you anymore.
Nobody asked you to. All right, baby. This way out.
He leads her to the door. Betty and Gillis have reached the entrance.
Good luck to you, Betty. You can finish that story on the way to Arizona when you and Artie get back. If the two of you ever feel like a swim, here's the pool.
Betty doesn't even look. Her eyes are filled with tears. She runs down the entrance porch toward her car. Norma has been watching on the upper landing as Gillis ascends the stairs.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
She tries to take his hand to kiss it as he passes, but he doesn't stop. Norma catches his coat. Gillis moves right out into his room. Norma lies on the floor looking after him. She crawls towards a console, pulls herself up by it, and starts towards Gillis. Past the mirror, she realizes how she looks. She moves back to the mirror and takes the patches off her mask and does a hasty job of removing the cream with her handkerchief. Readjusting her expression, she goes to the poor travesty of a smile and goes to the door.
May I come in? I've stopped crying. I'm all right again. Joe, tell me you're not cross. Tell me everything is just as it was, Joe.
Joe is halfway packed. He's putting some of his old shirts in, and Norma stands staring, speechless for a second.
What are you doing, Joe? What are you doing? You're not leaving me.
Yes, I am, Norma.
No, you're not. Max! Max!
Max is a good idea. He can help me with my luggage. Thanks for letting me wear the handsome wardrobe, and thanks for the use of all the trinkets. The rest of the jewelry is in the top drawer.
It's yours, Joe. I gave it to you.
And I'd take it in a second, Norma, only it's a little too dressy for sitting behind the copy desk in Dayton, Ohio.
These are nothing. You can have anything you want if you'll only stay. What is it you want? Money?
Norma, you'd be throwing it away. I don't qualify for the job, not anymore.
You can't do this. Max! Max! And I can't face life without you, and I'm not afraid to die, you know?
That's between you and yourself, Norma.
You think I made that up about the gun?
She rushes to her room. Gillis closes the suitcase calmly and notices that he is still wearing some cufflinks Norma gave him. He takes them off. Norma reappears in the door, carrying a revolver.
See? You didn't believe me. Now I suppose you don't think I have the courage.
Sure, if it would make a good scene.
You don't care, do you? But hundreds of thousands of people will care.
Wake up, Norma. You'd be killing yourself to an empty house. The audience left 20 years ago. Now face it.
That's a lie. They still want me.
No, they don't.
What about the studio? What about DeMille?
He was trying to spare your feelings. The studio wanted to rent your car.
Wanted what?
DeMille didn't have the heart to tell you. None of us has had the heart.
That's a lie. They want me. They want me. I get letters every day.
You tell her, Max. Come on, do her that favor. Tell her there isn't going to be any picture. There aren't any fan letters except the ones you wrote yourself.
That isn't true, Max.
Madame is the greatest star of them all. I will take your bags, Mr. Gillis.
You heard him. I'm a star.
Norma, grow up. You're a woman of 50. There's nothing tragic about being 50, not unless you try to be 25.
Fuck off. I'm the greatest star of them all.
Goodbye, Norma.
No one leaves a star. That makes one a star. You're not leaving me.
Gillis is descending the staircase with his typewriter.
Joe? Joe!
Suddenly, there is the sound of a shot. The glass of the front door is shattered. Gillis at the door opens it and walks out without looking back. Down the staircase rushes Norma, a disordered wildness in the way she moves.
You're not leaving me.
Gillis is crossing the patio towards the garage. He is carrying his typewriter. He doesn't accelerate his step, although he has heard the shot. Beside him, Norma comes from the lighted house.
You're not leaving me.
She shoots twice in rapid succession. Gillis drops the typewriter. The shots have swung him around. He is now facing Norma. She shoots him again. This shot hits him in the belly. He doubles up and instinctively backs away from her and plummets into the lit swimming pool. Up the stone steps from the garage rushes Max. He sees the situation, hurries towards Norma, who stands exultant in the strange light from the pool.
Stars are ageless, aren't they?
Dissolved to the patio at dawn. At the edge of the pool stands a policeman, detectives, and police photographers. Motorcycle policemen are holding off the mob, which is trying to storm the house. A lieutenant from the homicide bureau leaves the crowd around the pool and goes into the Desmond house. It is filled with a pandemonium of police officers, newspaper people, etc., who are kept from the upper floor by two policemen at the head of the stairs. The lieutenant from the homicide bureau goes through the crowd to the telephone at the foot of the stairs. He picks up the phone and dials.
Coroner's office. I want to speak to the coroner. Who's on this phone?
Standing talking is gossip columnist Hedda Hopper. Max Pierce. Oh, I guess he left. I am. Now get off. This is more important. Time City Desk. Hedda Hopper speaking. I'm talking from the bedroom of Norma Desmond. Don't bother with a rewrite. Take it direct. Ready? As day breaks over the murdered house, Norma Desmond, faded star of yesteryear, is in a state of complete and mental shock. Camera pans to another part of the bedroom where Norma sits at a mirror, staring at herself blankly, firing questions at her are the captain of Holmby Hill Division and the LA Homicide Squad. Max stands by faithfully.
You do not deny having killed this man, Miss Desmond.
Did you intend to kill him? Just answer me that.
Was it a sudden quarrel? Had there been any trouble between you before?
If it was a quarrel, how come you had the gun right there?
This guy, where did you meet him for the first time? Where did he come from? Who is he?
Did he have a wife? Did he have a girlfriend? Did you know them?
Had he been trying to blackmail you?
The body of Gillis is being fished out of the pool, put on a straight chair and covered with an army blanket. Two men from the coroner's office carry it towards the coroner's hearse. The camera is panning with them.
It got to be 5 in the morning, and I was still floating in that pool of hers. Finally, they fished me out like a harpooned baby whale. The whole place was jumping by then. Cops, newsmen, columnists, and the usual crowd we get in Los Angeles when they open a supermarket. Everything but searchlights. Well, they checked the damage, but they didn't have to. I was all set for the coroner and a nice ride to the morgue down Sunset Boulevard. Only by then, the newsreel guys had arrived with cameras and celluloid, so I decided to stick around a while. This was too good to miss.
Return to Norma's bedroom. The interrogators are still firing questions at Norma, who sits lifeless, staring at herself. Max is watching.
Did the deceased ever threaten you? Were you in fear of bodily injury?
Did you hate him? Had you ever thought of doing something like this before?
Was theft involved? Did you catch him trying to steal something or find he had stolen something?
The newsreel guys have arrived with the cameras.
Tell him to go fly a kite. This is no time for cameras.
Cameras? What is it, Max? Max?
You're muted.
Max, I'm muted?
Max is muted.
Max is muted.
The cameras have arrived, madame.
Now we got video.
We have lost madame.
Hello? Hello?
Hear you. Lost you.
We can't see Madame. Where is she?
Where's Madame?
She's muted.
Madame.
Damn.
She's not
Max
ready.
looks at the head of homicide, who after a moment's consideration nods at him. Come on, Norma, you can do it.
We're almost done.
She's muted too. She's also muted.
Muted and no video.
Hello?
There she is.
Hello?
Norma.
Yes.
Where is she? We can't see her.
Norma.
It's all right. Keep going. Keep going.
The cameras have arrived, madame.
Oh, they have. Thank you, Max. Tell Mr. DeMille I will be on set at once.
Yes, madame.
You will pardon me, gentlemen. I have to get ready for my scene.
She takes a comb and runs it through her hair, then starts applying some wild makeup. To the staircase of the lower hall, Max makes his way down the stairs through the crowd of newsmen to the newsreel cameras, which are being set up in the hall below.
Is everything set up, gentlemen? Are
Bust
the
it
lights
out.
ready?
From the stairway
Just
to
about.
they look up. Norma has emerged from the bedroom and comes to the head of the stairs. There are golden spangles in her hair, and in her hand she carries a golden scarf. The police clear a path for her to descend. Press cameras flash at her every step. Max stands.
Is everything set up, gentlemen?
Just about.
Are the lights ready?
All set.
Quiet, everybody. Lights. Are you ready, Norma?
What is the scene? Where am I?
This is the staircase of the palace.
Oh, yes. Yes, they're below, waiting for me to dance the dance of the 7 veils. I'm ready.
All right. Camera. Action.
I can't go on with the scene. I'm too happy. Do you mind, Mr. DeMille, if I say a few words? Thank you. I just want to tell you how happy I am to be back in the studio making a picture again. You don't know how much I've missed all of you, and I promise you I will never desert you again, because after Salome, we'll make another picture and another and another. You see, this is my life. It always will be. There's nothing else. Just us and the cameras and those wonderful people out there in the dark. All right, Mr. DeMille. I'm ready for my close-up.
Slow fade out. The end. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Cool. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
So fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Julian. Tammy, you were fabulous. Ian, so were you. Molly, oh my
Thank
God.
you, everybody.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Thank you.
thank you guys.
Everyone. Oh,
Bye.
Molly, thank you
That
for
was so
doing this.
fun.
Thank you all for doing this so much.